Hello there, everybody. It's me, Callie Meister. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Well, what do I have in store for you? I'm going to do another video today. In fact, I'm going to do some more. I want to finish up the Lovability astrology series. I've got to do the air signs and the water signs. But right now, I want to talk about something that I hadn't really planned on talking about. But after I had a reading with a client today, I decided, I want to address this. This is something that I want to talk about. And I will say this is probably going to be a two-part video because this is a lot to cover in one video, and I've got this like wonderful 15-minute length that's like I can't do anything longer than that, so I feel like this is going to be a two-parter, and I'll go ahead and get into it. Now, what is this about? I want to title this "You're Not Crazy, You're Just Plain Psychic." So, why do I want to call it that? Because what I have heard a lot of my life from clients, from people in regards to in the community and out of the community is, oh, you're not psychic, you're just crazy. What if it's the other way around? What if you're not crazy, you're just psychic? And I've got a lot of thoughts on this and a lot of feelings on this. And I'll tell you, they come from a place of a lot of research, a lot of experience, and a lot of talking with other people. I should add right away, I have a degree in psychology. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in creative writing, and I have been empathic and psychic and intuitive for over 35 years. So I have a lot of experience in this. I have a great wealth to speak upon in regards to what this means to me. Now, I believe in mental illness. I do believe there are people who do have mental illnesses, but I also believe that a lot of people who are sitting around hearing spirit are being led to believe by society that they're nuts. And so they're sitting with this gift that was given to them of knowing, of understanding, of being given information that they're not using because the world has intimidated them into thinking they're wrong. And that is ridiculously unfair. And that's something that I want to address. Now, that being said, what I think is going to happen, I think that psychiatry and psychology and psychic ability and intuition and empathy are all going to meld into one wonderful profession. And I can't wait for that day. And I think I'm actually going to be alive when that happens. I already see it happening because right now the fields of metaphysical workers, light workers, psychics, Reiki masters, yoga instructors, that's all growing. We're at a place where we're very curious about all of that. And so this professional side of it is opening up where, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, and there are psychics and life coaches and intuitive counselors. And I'm looking at my card, psychic life coach. That's how I am listed. And I will tell you, that's one of the things that I am reclaiming. I'm reclaiming the word psychic. The word psychic was a word that I had a real difficult time embracing for a very long time because, like most people, I think, especially who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we were led to believe that psychics were liars and con artists and swindlers and shysters and just these really bad people who were trying to separate you from your money. And so that was another part of this societal sort of idea that let's just attack what we don't understand. Let's attack what's not tangible. Let's attack what we can't put our fingers around and touch, taste, and smell. And that's a lot of it, because if you have a knowing, what that is a gift. You have this thing that you hear, and that's not even entirely accurate, because for some people it's visual, for some people it's audio, for some people it's just a feeling that they have. And for some it's all of that. They get a little bit of each. And what society has done for a very long time in a lot of cases is tell these people that they're crazy. Now, that being said, do I think that there are people out there who have mental illness? Yeah, I do. I believe mental illness is a valid thing. In fact, how I became very confident in my knowing and my psychic ability and my empathy and intuition was I went through a gamut 23 to 25 hour test for psychiatric disorders when I was in college. And I was a non-traditional student. I went back in my 30s. And I knew I had dyslexia and ADD. I was fairly confident of it. When I was in third grade, I had teachers like, you have these things. But we didn't have a lot of money in my family. I could not go through the gamut testing back then. So it was just something that I was aware of. I took measures to re-educate myself in study techniques that would lend to helping me have better grades. I was not the best student in high school in any way, shape, or form. By the time I got to college, my goal was to become a better student, figure out the ways to study, to write notes, to have a better intake of information. And so I thought, if I go through this testing, I will have the paperwork that will validate this, and I can get accommodations, and I will have help, because I realized at that point I needed help learning, and there was no shame in that. What I didn't know is this was going to address my psychic ability as I was going through this. Now, as far as my intuition goes and my psychic self, I have been aware of that since I was about 3 or 4 years old. I have seen things, I have known things, I have heard things, and that was received in varying ways by my friends and family. Sometimes they were okay with it, sometimes they were frightened by it, sometimes they questioned it. But for me, it felt like they didn't understand it above all else. So a lot of me spent so much time pushing it away, because what I got from them was that I was crazy, that I was attention seeking, or that I was just lying. I was just lying. So I decided to kind of push this stuff back and not really discuss it unless I felt incredibly safe. And those instances did not happen too often. And that was the way it was until I did this testing. And it was always this silly party trick. It was this parlor game that I could pull out. Oh, here's Callie. She sees dead people. Here's Callie. She feels energy. Here's Callie. She can hear your grandmother. She can find your car keys. You know, that was it. But it was not something that I felt confident in. It was not something that I felt okay talking about. I felt very selective. And then what was weird part of the knowing was I kind of knew who I could talk to. But I would still be like, okay, this, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel safe. And also, I had been raised with my dad's family being Catholic and my mother's family being Baptist. And neither one of those faiths at that time was very open to it. In fact, when I told my father for the first time that I heard and saw dead people, his response was, no, you don't. And that was it. That we didn't talk about it again. And I think I was 15. And no, you don't. That was it. So that's what I was contending with. And also, I lived in a small town in Texas where if you talked about that, you were, I already felt very alienated because I was very creative and different. And then I had that. So I didn't want to be alienated anymore. And so I didn't really discuss it a lot. So I went about that, and that was the way it was until I did this testing in my 30s. And I went through this hours and hours and hours of testing. And I told my clinician that, and this was PhD, this is a man who has his PhD, that I heard things and that I saw people, and he was very open to this. And we discussed it, and I was fully aware, okay, somehow this is going to come out. This is going to come out. This is going to come out. And there was a fear I had because I do have mental illness in my family. I have 2 uncles who on both sides who committed suicide. I had I think an aunt who also had a lot of issues with mental illness. I have mental disabilities in regards to development in my family with some people. And so there was this fear that this is something, there's a mental illness somewhere here. There's some sort of biological component that's not quite firing correctly. And please understand, I don't judge people who have those. I love people who have some issues like that. I wanted to know. And so I went through the testing and I found out that I have ADD and dyslexia, and I'd kind of known this since I was in third grade, like I said. And I found out I have something, I think it's called dyscalculia, where numbers look weird. And I had some just basic depression. But beyond that, I didn't have any major buggaboos. There was no schizophrenia. There was no bipolar. There was no anti-personality disorder. There was no psychopathy, narcissism, nothing. And I cried. I was happy, but I realized I was confused and conflicted in that I had to address my psychic stuff. I had to address the voices. I had to address where this was coming from, what it was, why I had it, and I had to do some research and study into that and some education into that and just let it be, let it happen. And I also realized I had to be okay with saying this is what I have. So at that point, that was the point I went, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be in a closet with this anymore. I'm not going to hide this anymore. This is who I am. And immediately I had an issue with the word psychic. I immediately, because again, I thought, oh God, this has such a bad connotation. So I didn't know what to call myself. And then regardless of what I called myself, I'm an empath. Oh, so you're a psychic. I'm intuitive. Oh, so you're a psychic. And I realized, you know what? I just have to own this word. I just have to own the word psychic, and I have to live in that and possibly redefine it for those who saw it the way I did, as being this negative stigma that carries, a history of bad infomercials and ridiculous accents and craziness along with it. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to address this, and I'm just going to label myself as a psychic. In fact, I look at my business card, and right now it says psychic life coach, because that's what I feel most comfortable in, is a psychic life coach. So my experience, I see things, I hear things, it plays out like a movie for me. And that's the way it is. Now, what I feel like the world needs is to understand that there's a difference between delusions and guidance. What is a delusion? A delusion is harmful. A delusion tells you to hurt yourself. A delusion tells you to hurt other people. A delusion tells you to do darkness, to be of darkness, to be harmful. And not even, be darkness is not exactly fair, because I believe there is a balance between darkness and light. But it is an abundance of darkness. And what is guidance? Guidance is this voice that says, okay, you're better than this. You should be here. Follow this. Be careful of this. Watch that. It's always positive. It's always there to help you. It's always there to not harm you or another person, but to help you grow as an individual. And if that's what you're hearing, that's guidance. So that's the first way to distinguish it. Now, that being said, you guys, I am going to cut off right here, and we're going to go ahead and we'll start a part 2. And I hope that you'll join me for part 2, because I'm going to give a exercise in how to hear your knowing and some more understanding of what that is. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please like my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. Share my videos and get my information out there. You guys, please, please, please. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Tune in for part 2. Bye.